Yes, for 11. This council meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of July 5th, 2022 was included in the list of meetings published in the Courier News and Star Ledger. Notice of this meeting was also placed on the bulletin board of Borough Hall. A copy of this notice is available to the public, and a copy of the statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Dennis Sullivan.
Here.
Council members, Granville Brady.
Here.
Tom Mitchell.
Here.
Gina Stravic.
Here.
Roger Vroom.
Here.
Fred Weed.
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here. Please join me in the flag salute and remain standing. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As has become much too frequent, we begin our public meeting with a moment of silence for two community members who, two different areas of the spectrum, have contributed a lot to our community. The Reverend Jack Denny was the Reverend over at the Lutheran Church on Union Avenue. I first met Jack in 1979 when I had one of his kids in my fourth grade class at Vandenberg. Just a great contributor to the social and religious community that we all hold so dear. Second gentleman I'd like to recognize is former Borough Attorney Bill Sutton. Family well connected in the town. Represented the town as Borough Attorney, was a member not just of the bar, but a community member as well. And then the last thing I'd like to memorialize, just a little bit different, I'd like to add an additional 7 seconds of silence for the 7 victims of the shooting in Highland Park, Illinois. Just heard on the news on my way over here that a 7th victim has died at the hospital. Community just a little bit bigger than ours, but community where people went to have a parade, and we all know that feeling very well. So I know I speak for the entire 12,000 people in town, and our hearts and prayers go out to our neighbors halfway across the country. So Jack Denny, Bill Sutton, and the residents of Highland Park, Illinois. Thank you. We have June 20th minutes for approval. So moved.
Second.
Council members, Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. We have departmental reports and notices, committee reports. Let's start with Dr. Brady to my right.
Yes, Your Honor. Anybody who drives on Grove Street, Mercer Street, Davenport Street, or North Bridge Street will notice some significant changes. Based on complaints from residents about speeding, the borough placed rumble strips across the road and painted the surface with large letters reading 25 miles per hour. I don't know if that's going to have any effect on speeding. Once you see the printed warnings and roll over those rumble strips, you get the idea we're serious about speeding in Somerville. Stay tuned for more of these improvements. If anyone out there has noticed the improvement in speeding or reduction, give us a call, because it's always good to get some feedback. And I think we'd especially like to get some feedback from the public on what their impression has been of the changes we made on those highways. Chief Manning reached out to us over the weekend about fireworks. I was surprised. I didn't hear a lot of loud noise in my neighborhood, but then again, the party broke up yesterday at 10 p.m. So it does seem as if it's been fairly quiet, at least from what I've heard. I don't know if anybody else heard a lot of going off. I know that I guess the ballpark had a large event, and it seemed to be a good opportunity for people to see it. And finally, FD Stonewater had began interviewing subcontractors for the work on the emergency services facility, and as of now, we anticipate opening in 2024. And that's all I have here.
Councilwoman Stroud.
So the Environmental Commission has the dedication to the community garden, which is located behind Firehouse Field on this Saturday, July 9th. The garden is dedicated to a former deceased resident, Jay Scott, who was active in community with his own planting, as a gardener. He's been active with when we had the farm market in town. So he's done a lot of things in Somerville, and they have chosen to honor him with this garden. The garden is a little bit quaint, the first year operation, so check it out at Fireman's Field.
What time is that?
It's 10:30 a.m. on Saturday. Also, I was informed this morning by the New Jersey Tree Foundation, who has helped the Environmental Commission in the past with the planting of trees in our parks and greenway, that they were funded through MetLife for another grant, this one for Southside. I worked with them on the proposal and they were awarded it. So they coordinate the planting, MetLife provides the funds and the volunteers, and we join in as with community volunteers as well. So that should take place late September, early October. And lastly, Kevin and I have been working, I don't know what the submission status is. We were having trouble with the submission, but we completed the grant with the New Jersey Urban Community Forestry Department, and to plant additional trees along the floodplain using the parks and greenway as our markers. So that will help restore what we lost in Ida, as well as work in the future to maintain our water levels and prevent some flooding. Did it go through?
No, actually the state had a glitch this morning, and they said if the glitch remains tomorrow, still submit it tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's going in tomorrow morning.
Well, we're done.
We're done. Yeah, thank you for all your work on that.
But
Gee, what was the amount on the Southside grant?
127,000? Oh no, Southside grant, it's probably around 30 something. That's what it was the last time. We were using the same plan as we did for Fireman's Field when we planted that last
Still will
fall.
cover a good number of trees.
About 36. And then the urban forestry grant is
The whole
about,
project on that is 174,000 is the entire project cost.
And Southside used to have a beautiful canopy of mature trees, and like many of the streets in Little by Little, you know, trees are no more, so it's good.
and a nice baseball field, we used to play softball there, and kids play hardball, so it's
Welcome addition. Thank you. Councilman?
Yes, I just want to report a few things from recreation. The Mercer Street Basketball Court, also known as the Patricia Webster Basketball Court, which was damaged in Hurricane Ida. The work should commence in about 4 to 6 weeks from starting and get that repaired, which will be good. A few other notes that I have. All residents must register in advance to use Walk Park Pool, and the hours of operation there are 12 to 6 p.m. Fall soccer registration is open for grades 1 through 8. Deadline is July 30th. And two other things, I'll stay on the guys with recreation. Last Thursday, a few of us attended the ribbon cutting of the Drew McLaughlin Memorial Basketball Court over at Exchange Field, aka Carol Pager Park. And you know, that basketball court really needed some work done for many years, and the Drew McLaughlin Foundation spent about $76,000 and reimbursed the borough. They raised money, and we made sure to get a really good court. I said to, I still call him Mr. McLaughlin even after 35 years, but Morgan McLaughlin, who is Drew's father, said very good things about this project, us going forward with it, and having known Drew growing up. If you don't know, he unfortunately succumbed to his battle with glioblastoma, which is a type of deadly brain cancer. I knew Drew growing up. I was best of friends with his younger brother, and I know Drew would be proud. He's looking down on us being proud. Even though, and I'm sorry to his older brother John, even though John missed the first couple of shots, Drew would still be proud, because Drew probably beat him in the game on one of them. So, they did a fantastic job. Special shout out to the Drew McLaughlin Foundation and Jason Kraska, who was integral in that. So I just want to give kudos to that. And finally, I just wanted to highlight, Councilman Brady had mentioned that he had several resident complaints about speeding. I had someone reach out to me regarding some potholes in Roosevelt. And I took a walk over there and looked, and I appreciate the resident who reached out to me. And we were able in about a week's time to get the potholes fixed. At a previous meeting, I once said, this is the way to go. We're all here to help. We have a borough staff here to help. By all means, keep us posted on, anything that you might think needs repair or any ideas. Always willing to listen. Might not always like an answer we give, but at the same time, we were able to get some potholes fixed in a week. So, please keep us informed, and, complaining on Facebook is really not the way to go. It's, contacting our hardworking borough staff, Kevin Sluka, or one of us is, we can get things done. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Mitchell.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilman Rowe.
The ad hoc flood committee met last week to discuss further recommendations to the council. We're in final stages now. We're going to meet one more time. We're just waiting on to make sure that the recommendations have all been written down and typed up efficiently, and we should be bringing a recommendation to council by the next council meeting.
Vote to Council President. Okay, just two quick things. Dr. Brady mentioned the rumble strips, the fact that we're trying to respond to the speeding that endangers us all. With Kevin's help, I drafted a letter to DOT reintroducing the concept of lowering the speed limit on the remaining state highway, which is 28, from Adamsville Road to Mechanic Street. We were successful last 2 years ago to get Mechanic Street West reduced to 25, and the signs are actually up, which took forever. So that can be enforced. But the eastern half of 28 is just as critical, if not more so. So I don't assume we've gotten a response yet, Kevin, but
We have not.
right. And at the same time, I reached out to Somerset County to ask them again to revisit lowering the speed limit on their county roads, which would be East Main Street between Adamsville Road and Gaston Avenue, and I guess Somerset Street, the section of Somerset Street west of Borough Hall to the Borough line. And I again assume that we have not heard back from them.
They acknowledge receipt of the letter. They haven't, I guess with the holiday coming up, they haven't had an opportunity to discuss it.
Well, if and when we don't hear from them both in another several weeks, let's dust the letter off, and then maybe we'll follow it up with a call. Last thing I have, I read with interest that the Division of Motor Vehicle, or the Motor Vehicle Commission, has a new director. Kevin, I would like you to reach out maybe early next week to the new director and invite, I believe, her to either have a conference call with us or invite her up for a site visit and lunch on me to have her observe the DMV office on Roosevelt Place and take her temperature on efforts being made to relocate it, which I assume are none right now, but let's give her 3 days to settle in, and let's make the overture that we are still serious about seeing DMV relocate, and my offer to drive the moving van still stands.
Sure.
So let's take advantage of fostering a new relationship with the new director, and let her know that if in fact the rumors we hear that they'll be going back to full service at some point are true, we cannot return that facility to full service for licensing and documents. We will have wasted 3 years if that's the case. And I think I speak for the rest of the council to reinforce that that facility needs to move. So let's make that outreach maybe by, early next week, see if they'll come up and give them a quick tour and discuss next steps. It shouldn't be there regardless of how well it's functioned during the pandemic, because if it reopens for full service, we know what's going to happen. And that's all I have for committee. Somerville Drive's 25. Kevin, do you want to lead the discussion on that?
Sure. I mean, Councilman Vroom had come up with a slogan, and we're going to be making some efforts with both our partners in this area, both the county, the state, some more advocacy groups with pedestrian advocacy. We're going to be promoting that a greater awareness to reduce the speeding in Somerville, which we've talked about 4 times before we even got to this. So I don't know if the council wants to add to it, but all idea is to create a campaign, more of a public outreach that's a consistent messaging in the borough, both entering the borough, exiting the borough, where we're going to come up with some more of an artistic expression of lowering, making sure people not abide by the 25, but reduce 25. And I know you wanted to add to that.
No, I think it often comes to us that not enough is going on. We're not doing enough things to stop all of the speeding and the crashes and the various incidents that occur within the boundaries of our borough. But I think this is where we have to do some self-reflection and it takes a village, right? So in that framework, the decision, we talked about it and threw it out there, is that the Drive 25 campaign has to start at home. We can't control the people that come in and out of the borough throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the weeks, whatever the case might be. But our citizens, our new drivers and our veteran drivers, what kind of a statement is it when we drive through town and we don't abide by the rules that we're expecting our visitors to abide by? And I know that growing up, we drive 25 means somewhere just below 35, and that seems to be the rule that everyone follows. And then if it's on the Garden State Parkway, the Turnpike, or 287, it really is kind of what you feel like at the time. But in all sincerity, we have to make sure that we are abiding by that and set the example. When people come into town, they should know that if they're driving behind someone that lives in Somerville, they will be doing 25 miles an hour. They will be making sure that they're paying attention. And it's a big ask, but I think that again, at this point, we continue to do, as we said, with the rumble strips and more police officers added to the force. We're doing what we can do, but now it's time to ask the public to help out. And I don't think it's a big ask. We don't think it's a big lift. I think if you can, drive down the road and keep it at 25 and not feel that pressure, it makes you more aware, and you're paying attention to keeping that speed. Would keep also your attention on the road and what's going on in front of you. So I think it's something that we all agree upon that would be a very big help, and not, again, a big lift. And we talked about possibly like a pledge, creating an online pledge where residents can sign up and pledge to drive 25 and make it a real thing. And once the schools come back into sessions, we had talked about, even doing some advocacy through the schools to bring that home to parents. But I think the more we can focus on what we can control, and speed limit is something we can all control, those of us that drive, I think it would be a great way for us to move forward and really look out for one another, more than, again, we can't control people who come in, but at least we can, inside of our borough, we can do the best we can to keep ourselves safe.
And your son and my grandson will be driving in 3 years, so what better way to start than now? That's so scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't need to hear that.
Now, Kevin, would you put Roger in touch with the driveways?
Sure.
They have made overtures in the past, and unfortunately with COVID, the driving patterns are not what they used to be. So for them to do a traffic count now, it's probably not going to really give us much data, because once school's open, it's a whole different scenario, especially on Route 28 in front of the school. You do a traffic count now, there's nobody. But you wait till the first day of school, and it's 500 cars. So, Kevin, hook him up with Is it Allison?
Allison.
Allison, okay.
Also, I have
They can do a lot of, public outreach, maybe we design a bumper sticker. I don't know if bumper stickers are in vogue anymore, but maybe we design a Drive 25.
Magnet.
And that will magnet, okay, yeah, there we go.
next week I have an environmental commission meeting and green team, so there is the green team works on the Sustainable New Jersey projects, and there is a section for walkable, bikeable communities, safe traffic, and I will ask them to take a look at that as well. See if there's any projects other communities have done that we can get ideas from as well.
Just piggybacking on that, walking and driving is, just in case everyone doesn't pay attention to the laws that now have gone into effect. There's the 4-foot law, where if someone is biking on the road or walking on the road, you have to have 4 feet of space between you and that person or persons that are in the street. As an avid cyclist in the area, I would appreciate that. It'd be fantastic to not have side view mirrors glance my shoulder.
Does that count when they weave close to you, or where's the 4 feet? Who measures that?
Well, they said that the first offense, if it causes bodily harm, is 2 points and $1,000 fine.
So if you hit somebody, it's a problem,
Yeah.
even with the 4 feet rule.
I think if we set the example of it, word will spread. And if we can get cooperation with the DOT and the county as well, people will soon realize once they hit the borough line, it's 25. Stay alive, drive 25. We mentioned that 2 years ago before COVID as well.
And if we could, obviously, details forthcoming, if we can at least preliminarily get this out to tap into Somerville, and do like a press release, even if Mike Deep wants to pick it up. They might even be watching, so, by all means, let's get this out to the press and eventually the website and social media, because a lot of people, there might be some people who say, oh, well, it's just for show. Well, no, honestly, those rumble strips, you come off the highway, you're going 55, 60, 65, come off the highway, the rumble strips kind of wake you up like, oh, I'm out of the trance, I'm off the highway, let me slow down. So I think it's a good first step, and we'll continue on.
All right. Thank you. We have 2 ordinances for introduction only tonight. 2675-22-0705. A bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $5.2 million for Station Road extension to Route 206 in and by the Borough of Somerville in the County of Somerset, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $5,200,000 in bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of the appropriation. Can I have a motion for introduction only?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes,
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
That will be on for adoption
All 3 of these will be on the next meeting.
next meeting. Okay, good.
Can I ask a question about this?
At the hearing, Tom. Thank you. All right, our next ordinance for introduction only, 2676-22-0705, amending chapter 106, trucks over 4 tons excluded. Motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Even though it's introduction, I'll make a quick comment. This will prohibit trucks more than 8,000 pounds of gross weight from, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, Mercer Street between Route 22 and Main Street and High Street.
Correct, so it's Mercer, Davenport,
Bridge
Street,
Road, and Gaston.
Gaston will only go to William because it's a state highway to that.
And that's 8,000 registered, not the actual weight,
Right.
but registered.
GRW, gross registered.
Is already.
so is that a tractor trailer, or what size truck is that?
No, tractor trailers are 18,000, I think, so this is a.
Probably a box truck.
Yeah,
or a
large box truck.
So there'll be more discussion when we have the hearing, but just wanted to get it out there that's the intent of this, to protect those streets from trucks, oversized trucks.
And ruining our rumble strip.
They will rumble. All right, roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, last ordinance for introduction only, 2677-22-0705. Bond ordinance amending bond ordinance 2650-21-1018, finally adopted by the Borough Council of the Borough of Somerville, New Jersey on November 1st, 2021. Motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Kevin, this is a bond ordinance that we're amending?
Yeah, so there was an existing bond ordinance for $800,000, that was for the fire truck apparatus. It needs to be amended to $820.
So we're, all right, okay. All right, roll call for
Inflation
introduction.
raises its ugly head again.
I'm sorry?
Inflation raises its ugly head again.
No,
Yeah.
no issues. We'll have discussion at the hearing.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Hi, this is our open public session. Need a roll call? I made a motion to open.
I got
Second.
Gina, thank you. Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, if you wish to speak in the open public session, please state your name and address for the record, address your questions to myself. The public session is open. Hearing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
All right, we have a series of consent resolutions. Are there any council wishes to pull for discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, 220.
20. Anyone else? All right, I will read these off. We'll vote on these as a group. 212, approving life chain event for Sunday, October 2nd, 2022, from 2 till 3:30 p.m. 213, authorizing application to the Department of Community Affairs American Rescue Plan for a firefighters grant. 214, extending the grace period on municipal charges for property taxes, sewer utility billing, and special improvement taxes. 215, approving the annual renewal of taxi driver licenses for the year 2022-23. 216, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation 2023 Safe Streets to include North Downey Avenue, West High Street, South Street, and South Bridge Street pedestrian safety improvements. 217, memorializing the award to Top Line Construction Corporation for removal and replacement of 120 linear feet of 8-inch sanitary sewer. 218, authorizing the sale of certain property owned by the Borough of Somerville, not required for public services, public purposes. Property on 106 Veterans Memorial Drive East, found on tax map block 58, lot 25. 219, authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding with American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees of New Jersey. 221, memorializing the application to the U.S. Department of Justice, Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership for grant funding. 222, authorizing the execution of a lease purchase agreement with Route 23 Ford Auto Mall, utilizing the Morris County Cooperative in the amount of $25,087. 223, appointing Kevin Sluka and Brian O'Neill as deputy OEM coordinators, term to expire 12/31/22. 224, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for road improvements, including Green Hill Avenue. 225, approval to submit a grant application to DOT for improvements on Lincoln Avenue. And that's all I have. So a motion on those?
So.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Right, we had one pulled for discussion. 220, awarding the contract for the purchase of turnout gear to Moose Safety Supply for the Somerville Fire Department. Motion,
So moved.
Second.
discussion.
Where do I begin? Begin with, I was aware of this late Friday. Roger, Fred, who's the finance chairman, was aware of it late Friday. He had no way of knowing exactly seems as if we have purchased turnout gear the last several years. 5 sets in 2019, 5 sets in 2020, 6 sets in 21, 1 set in 22. Now, if the argument was made that perhaps some of that turnout gear was ruined in Ida, I can buy that argument. That happened in September. Our finance committee meetings went through January and February, and no one ever brought it up. So this was a total surprise. We now have a request for 42,000 and change, in addition to the 43,000 we spent the last several years. We reached out to Roger. He said these turnout gear last 10 years. Well, boy, a lot of these are not going to last 10 years. I just wondered why we're doing this and what the purpose of spending this money is mid-year. I mean, folks have to understand that when we do a budget, it's not just an estimated budget. We send it to the state, they approve it. We send it to the borough, they don't approve it, but they actually get a copy of it. They rely upon us to fund these things prudently. I just don't understand why we're now trying to spend another 42,000 when we've just spent 43,000 for the last several years. And my feeling at this point in time is I would be opposed to it, but at this point in time, I actually would move to table this resolution until we have more information, since I only got the information late Friday. So my motion is to table it.
All right, do I have a second on that one?
Second.
All right, so now procedurally, we can discuss the tabling, or do we just vote on the table?
You can discuss it or just go to a vote, your
So,
choice.
Is there any discussion on the concept of table the resolution?
Yeah, just to echo Councilman Brady's comments, on the finance team, we do have to put together a very quite airtight budget. There has to be wiggle room, yes. That happens with any budget. But at the same time, when certain things come up, we gotta just give it a second look, give it its due process. Now the thing is, and I say this to the fire department, my uncle was fire chief for 2 years. He was a firefighter, he's gonna hit his 50th year soon. Everyone supports getting new turnout gear, but we just want to take a look at, what has degraded. Do we need, was it damage in Ida? We had a really bad fire back in December. We just want a second look, just to take a look, slow it down, let the finance team look, and we might have to pull some strings to get it, but at the end of the day, everyone's going to support getting new turnout gear. We just want devils in the details of all this and what exactly we'll be doing.
And I know this, Councilman, we just authorized the application of a grant for $75,000 for turnout through the Department of Community Affairs. So it seems to me as if we're putting the tail before the dog, on all the cart before the horse, or whatever you want to call it. I think we probably need to be a little more, I think we need to investigate this.
Yeah, just a little
They can
more.
provide some of the information if it's appropriate.
Let me get questions or comments from the rest of the council, Kevin, and I'll throw it to you.
So
Tom,
I
did you have any questions on the tabling?
Yeah, did we get that grant you were mentioning?
We're just applying for it now.
Just applying
Yeah.
for it. When does it, when do we know whether we won?
What is the award?
It's not applied for yet. The award for that, I'm told, should be made in the month of October or early November of this year.
Oh,
It does allow, this grant is a little unique in the sense that it allows all purchases made after April to be included in that grant. So normally you don't have that luxury, but the DCA made that luxury available to folks in this particular grant.
So if we were to pass this now, and then get the grant, we could apply the grant to the.
This is included in the grant already, yeah. I would, there's no guarantees, obviously, of getting the grant, but this is actually included in the grant. There's a total of 26 sets included in the grant.
So if we buy it now and we do get the grant,
so it's one of the rare times where you can buy something and include it in the grant.
All right.
Normally, that's
So
not
it's
the case.
retroactive.
Yeah, so the grant being applied for that you just approved is a total of $75,000. The borough is committed to 25% of that. So the grant is $100,000. The project is $100,000. The grant maximum is $75,000. The municipality would be committed to $25,000 of that. In either case, 25% of the full amount of grant. Again, you may not get the full amount of the grant. You may get less. You may not get anything. But you're committed to 25% by the grant.
Did that answer your question, Tom?
Yeah.
All right, Roger, I'll pass on you, I'll come back to you at the end.
Sure.
Do you have any questions? No. Roger, any question or comment on tabling?
I guess I misspoke. It's not that it lasts for 10 years, it can only be used for 10 years.
So I know from the rescue squad, there's OSHA
Yes.
time limits.
Correct.
So I would hope that all that's categoried and has expiration dates on
I
it.
would hope so too, because we just bought 11 sets in the last 4 years.
Again, we have, with all the volunteers that we have, it's a whole another set that is now expiring. So if we bought all the gear that we needed in a particular year for this, it would be expensive. Was this proposed, mid-year, it should have been proposed earlier? Absolutely. I don't think anyone disagreed with that. Obviously, as you said, we have to hold on to a budget. The issue that we have is that this gear is going to be no longer usable. Therefore, if someone gets hurt on a call in the gear, there are lots of things, lots of litigation that would happen to the borough and to the officers that are on duty at that time. So these are all things we have to think of, and that's just the facts. That's not trying to sway anybody's opinion of this. That's just what can happen. Again, should this have been handled differently? Absolutely. And I think even, Kevin and I have had that conversation. But at this time, when that gear expires, if they're wearing expired gear, that puts everyone at risk.
Do we know what the expiration date is?
I don't know offhand. I have
I'd like to know that. I'd like to know what happened to the 11 cents before. I'd like to know how many firemen. I'd like to know a lot of things before I just spend another $40-some thousand when we just spent it for the last 1 people on 11 cents. That's the whole point.
And we
The
have,
whole point I have is
Sure.
I don't feel comfortable voting for something when I just got it Friday night. I had no opportunity to do anything. It's a holiday weekend. I don't like the way it was done.
understood. And as I said, the issue that we have is that the 11 sets went to 11 other firefighters. And every year, we're going to need sets because again, just like with a lot of other stuff we buy, we don't buy all of the gear at once, because if that were the case, it would be millions of dollars because of how expensive an individual set is for the turnout gear.
Is it inventoried over the whole department or by each individual?
It's individual. It's individual to each house at this time, I do believe. So it is something that we are working on to make sure that we have all of that information up to date, which is probably how this slipped through. But again, we have to be careful because it puts us in a very tricky situation that can be very litigious, and not us, but with OSHA coming through.
So what I would suggest is that we get an inventory list, an explanation from each house, and then be able to react on this in a timely manner, like Grant speaks of.
Next meeting, certainly.
Yeah, next meeting, and
I think each house had to give us some information about it.
I have that.
Good.
okay.
So there's what the request was for 26 cents. The sets valued at $100,000 is 26 cents. That includes the helmet, the turnout gear, the boots. We spoke to the chief about the last minute request and the difficulty, and there's nothing I'm refuting, by the way, in anything he said here. And I had asked the chief to look at the list and to see if there's an opportunity to reduce that to a lower number, but to put some rationale behind it. He had come back, he provided us the names from each house of the top responders that are currently in expired gear. He provided me that information on Thursday, I believe, or Friday of last week. or Wednesday, I forget, I apologize, it was this week, but it was no earlier than Wednesday. And I put this on the agenda, recognizing the fact that those 11 top responders are your top responders, and they're currently in gear that does not meet the requirements. Now, I'm not a firefighter, I don't know the gear, I don't keep their inventory. And we had asked them to hold off on any other purchases, looking at, knowing that we also had a grant opportunity. However, at least 26 sets are beyond, I don't know the proper term, the useful life, I'm not sure exactly what that is. But that's where they're at. So those 11 that are identified here, I do have the names of that. Now, normally in the past, we don't get, that's the department function, they handle the names and so forth. We've asked to change that so we get a list of names so that we know who they're being assigned to. I think they too are looking to better the system. I think their goal is to rent some turnout gear for new firefighters and keep them in that to see how their response is going to go and see if they're going to be as active as the other top responders. I did speak to the vendor as well to try to get understanding because, you know, the cost of turnout gear is doubled in a very short period of time. And so, I mean, that's where we're at. So they were looking to purchase at least the 11 sets. I assure you 2 weeks is not going to change the system in the sense that I don't think it's waiting period to get further information. I just wanted to provide you that I did have some information. The chief is away on vacation next week. Any additional information I can have from the deputy chief.
And there is no spare
And so what
turnout gear laying around that would be in compliance for those top responders?
Short answer is no.
Yeah. The existing gear that they have will be turned into training gear, so that'll be available for training and so forth, because it degrades because of its use, and obviously training is part of one uses. So the idea was, in order to slow down the purchasing of turnout gear, because it's required and it's necessary, both from the insurance side and from the volunteer safety, they will use the existing turnout gear as training gear, so that they don't degrade the existing turnout gear as quickly. And again, I'm kind of talking without a lot of knowledge of turnout gear. And the funding for this is actually coming out of the trust. So not to say it's not money, it's absolutely money, but the trust is not on the cyclical year of the budget. So it remains in that trust fund until it's being used by that particular department. And those monies come from both, in this case, they came from Parkview Fire, they came from the hospital, the county jail. We get monies that are intended for a particular use that don't go into their budget and go into the trust fund, so when those needs arise, they have money there. So it would impact the trust fund, but you know, obviously it wouldn't impact their operational budget per se.
Kevin, what would the time, do you know what the time, regardless of how this vote goes, if we put an order in for turnout gear, we know how quickly it actually arrives to the.
I have that with me, and I think it's 8 weeks.
So even if it's passed now, it's still gonna be 8 weeks before we do it, all right?
I'll calculate change.
My understanding is that earlier in the year, I apologize, I don't know. Earlier in the year, that police firefighters were fitted as part of the process of getting new gear. So, you know, I really know the fitting process, but my understanding is that step had been done for about 30 firefighters.
I know the rescue squad were fitted and got their gear already, so, but that's separate from.
Yeah, I think with the fire, one thing that we did discover in the process of the last week is that the inventory of gear could be much better. And in the group of 26, there is a substantial amount that were destroyed in Hyde. So when I say destroyed, they were degraded, that they couldn't be used. So the they are included in the 26, but the 11 are ones that are listed among your comments.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion to table. If you can assure us that the funds will come out of the trust, that does not affect our operating budget for this year.
I believe it's coming out of the trust. I don't know.
If you can't make that assurance, and I would rather table it until I find out where the funds are coming from.
Well, I mean, you could pass it. You could pass. Well, I'm
You
sorry.
pass it
You
with
can
that
consider it
condition.
with that condition. If not, then I'll have to come back to you.
So let's go back. You wanna
I'll withdraw it if we can pass it with the condition.
Move to approve it subject to that condition.
Well, let's go back. Let's get that one off.
So I will withdraw my motion.
And who seconded that?
If he withdraws his motion, it's done.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All right, so
Never.
now we're back to the original resolution.
So the pending motion is to
Can I have a
approve
motion?
the resolution subject to that condition.
Subject to the condition that the funds come out of the trust that's set up for that purpose, which I understand. We have that.
And Kevin can get that answer tomorrow.
That's fine. The other thing I would like to
Okay,
suggest.
hang on, Ray, let me get a second.
I'll second.
All right, now we can, thank you.
Okay, we'll talk about another thing. I think grants are wonderful, but grants also are a little like drugs. Once you start, sometimes you can't get away from them. I love the idea, well, we're going to apply for the grant. But you gotta put 25% in, you gotta put 50%. Well, wait a minute, hold it. It's not what this says, it says a grant, okay? So the question I have, and I think what we should do at our next year, our next financial year, is to have all grant applications reviewed by the finance committee. Because I don't want to see this kind of thing happen time and time again. I remember the COPS grant, 1996, that Dennis and I were very familiar with. It was a great opportunity to hire an additional police officer.
Great.
But after three police officers, but after the 3 years were up with the police officers, we had to hire them permanently and pay for it. And Janet and I talked, and we decided not to apply for it. Well, the Star Ledger had a ball. We were against crime. No, we're against hiring the cops. We don't want to pay for it. So that's the thing I think we have to do. Next time we have one of these little addicting grants, maybe we should find out whether this is going to cost us.
Well, I can make it a notation on the agenda. You have 5 grant applications on this agenda alone.
Yeah, I know.
So for the finance committee to be on it, I mean,
I'm not
obviously I
saying we
can
have
send it
to
out
meet
to
on
you.
it, but let us know. I mean, simply just put a grant.
Because the
in.
matching funds could bankrupt us.
Ask it. You just put it on the notes. Put it on the agenda. Put it in the resolution. I'm not going to call and ask what each one of these damn funds is. I could care less. But if I see this and it's going to be a matching fund, it might be something we have to consider. Call the question.
Thank you. I'll just make a quick comment. We need to have equipment that protects our men and protect the public. The process, and I agree with Roger, needs to be tightened up, quite a bit. We need to know, when a new fireman is approved, just like with a new police officer, what the startup costs are gonna be. And that's a management issue that each department needs to take very seriously. What do they need to run their department? And I give all the credit in the world to the fire department. They protect us while we sleep, but there is a management component that is important. And I'm reassured. I think that what I sense is that this will pass. And could it be refined? I think lesson learned. So we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 220 awarding a contract for the purchase of Turnac gear to Moose Safety Supply for the Somerville Fire Department.
To adopt?
Yes.
Yeah,
On the condition.
on the condition that the funds come from the Fire Department Trust Fund?
Correct.
All right, that's the motion. And we have a second, so let's do a roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Broom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, bills and vouchers.
All right, Your Honor, I move payment of $725,409.28 bills and vouchers.
Second that.
Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. All right. Mr. Mitchell.
Move to adjourn.